Call the City of Apache Junction Council meeting to order. The invocation will be led by Vice Mayor Wilson and the pledge by Councilmember Struble.
Heavenly Father, we are again gathered this evening, this cool evening, to perform city business. We again ask for your oversight as we continue to keep our community a great place to live, work, and raise a family. We are thankful for this cooler weather so we can continue to get out and experience your great creation. We ask for your overall protection of our community as we also do our part to protect ourselves. We also ask for your healing hand for all the community residents that have been affected by this virus. Help them all recover. We extend this request to our protective hand for our city employees, first responders, and community residents. We ask that you keep your protective hand for our military members and their families wherever they are serving throughout the world. In the Lord's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Surtee,
Here.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Councilmember Barker,
Here.
Councilmember Evans, here, Councilmember Rizzi,
Present.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Here.
Councilmember Struble.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Your Honor, I move that the consent agenda be accepted as presented and that award of contract be given to Viason Corporation for construction of curbing for select medians on Apache Trail through the Pinal County Cooperative Contract Number 175623 in the amount of $279,456.32 with a 10% contingency for a total project cost not to exceed $307,401.95, and that approval be given of the agreement with Arizona Republic for legal advertising from January 1, 2021 through December 31, 2021, and that approval be given to resolution number 20-40, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Apache Junction, Pinal and Maricopa counties, Arizona, declaring and adopting the results of the general election held on November 3rd, 2020 be approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker,
Well, I don't know. Should I demand a recount? Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Struble,
Yes.
Mayor Surtee.
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Okay, we have some deja vu on this one, but Bryant and Mike have a presentation to do.
Yes, maybe once in a lifetime where we have an employee make it to 40 years. And Mike, well, yes, it is super awesome. We all love Keith so much. Mike, will you come up and start this? Everyone, this is Mike Weaver, Public Works Director, and Keith's current director. Keith's been through many. And we'll turn to Mike, and then Mike, if you, I'll come up and do the presentation here in a minute.
I'm going to be quick, get Keith up here. So, Keith, just a pleasure to work with you and get to know you, and congratulations on that rare accomplishment of 40 years. Keith Bedwell.
Wow.
Keith, come on up.
Your Honor, members of the council and our community, this is Keith Bedwell, employee who has served here as a public servant of our community for 40 years. And I am astounded and thrilled to know him and to have him as part of our team and to be the city manager at this time. We thought we'd have some fun. 40 years ago, 9,900 residents. I can't even imagine what he's seen. Maybe he wants to say a few words. Not, no, I don't know if he will. But Keith, we certainly cannot give you all that you deserve. But for now, we offer some years of service certificate, a plaque, some time off, and some money for a monetary award that's part of our program for making it to this super huge achievement. He was one of the first 5 employees of Public Works, maybe one of the first ever, in our city, as our city was only 2 years old as an incorporated entity, organization. So Keith, with deep appreciation and thanks for your 40 years of service to the city of Apache Junction, 1980 to 2020. Thank you for your service, Keith.
Wow. Do we stay? Do we? Wow. That's incredible. That's awesome. Thank you. Can't even
I was going to ask, were you 12 when he
What's that?
was he 12 when he started?
Were you 12?
Thank you.
Back to us.
Back to you.
Announcement of current events. Councilmember Struble.
Okay, I'm not sure which one. Okay, first off, we got the project showers this weekend, this Sunday at the Chamber Salvation Army. And again, if you know of anybody out there who just needs some assistance with food and such things, we do that. And then the other Sundays they do it at Genesis. So then the next one, open mic night again this Friday night, open to anybody 8 to 80, actually 6 to whatever age, where we just show off the kids' talents. We're going to have some kids that are going to be performing in the AJ Kids Idol. And so they're going to be performing Friday night just to get some, get used to being out in front of a crowd and stuff. So should be a good time. Then January 9th is the 3rd annual AJ Prayer Walk. We're going to start at the Table of Grace Church about 9:30, finish up at Flatiron Park. It's just a good day to come out and have some fellowship and such. And the last thing is, we got about 30 days left for any high school graduate from Apache Junction schools. They receive this when they graduated. Just have them come in to one of the restaurants that are listed on the back of the card there, and get $20 of free food, and then the restaurants get reimbursed by the LDR Foundation, which has plenty of money. So tell your kids out there to get them used up.
Gail.
Okay. This month we had the Apache Junction CDC board meeting, and we had a hazardous waste cleanup recently in the city, and one of our projects that we've picked up to do is we will pick up hazardous waste from individuals who don't have a truck or can't make it themselves to over on Idaho and Baseline. Unfortunately, we didn't have any calls this time. Last month we had 2 planting projects. We had the planting in the median, and this was our Make a Difference Day. I'm going all over the board here. That was a big success with the limited number of people that we could have due to the COVID, but the Botanical Walk out at Silly Mountain really was in need of a lot of cleanup, and we had a great group of people that showed up, and thank God it wasn't very hot that day, but I still had problems with the heat. In April, we're planning to start on the Field of Dreams in front of the Boys and Girls Club. And there's some other organizations that also have shown an interest in this, the Rotary Club being one of them, trying to decide what is the best what would best serve the kids at that location, whether it be a ball field or just a park area. There's water and electrical issues that all need to be resolved. We're also entering into the project of house numbers, where we'll be giving out house numbers for free to people. This is a big problem for fire and police trying to find homes. Heather Patel and I had given out a lot of numbers at Earthart Park at one of the community garden events, and it was very much appreciated by everyone who got them. Another project that we're working on is our bricks, and our bricks for over at the Focal Point. We have found an individual in West Virginia that is actually making it completely automated, that you'll be able to order a brick, pay for a brick, and see your brick being made as you're typing it out. We really haven't had any bricks installed or made in a couple of years now. So we wanted to make it as easy as possible, so it'll be completely automated on our website. We will be joining the chamber as well, which I think will help get the word out of all of the projects that we're trying to do within the city. I also participated in an ASU webinar last week on low-income housing, since we had done a presentation for it, and it was actually summarized in the Arizona Republic on Sunday's paper, so if somebody wants more details on it. But it really had the best explanation of the shortage of housing that I have heard from anybody, starting with when the state passed the SB 10 law on immigration and undocumented workers and losing a lot of population that worked in the field, quickly followed by the decline in the market, so we weren't building anything. And now, between our wildfires and the administration just put a 15% tariff on Canadian lumber, we have a lumber shortage, which just keeps driving housing prices up higher and higher. So if you're interested at all, I'd see if you can get a copy of that. It was quite informative.
Chip.
No, not now.
Robin, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to remind people of the holiday parade on Saturday, the reverse parade. I think it's going to be a great event, and the homeless thing from ASU is online. You can find it on ASU's website, all of the speakers and all of the information they gave. It was interesting.
Robert.
I just want to hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you filled up on turkey.
Chris.
Next one's coming.
Krista.
No, other than our local toy drives that are happening every year, there's a great need this year, and I know that a lot of people are struggling. So if you have the ability to give a little something, all of us pitching in and helping out definitely makes a difference for those families in need.
Okay, we just went through Thanksgiving, and a lot of folks give to charity, and some people do it for the wrong reason, and they just try to get attention. They donate $20 and jump in front of a camera. Well, we just had the exact opposite happen in our community. In our neighboring community, Gold Canyon Country Club asked me what they can do, because they always pick something every year, and they raise money for it. And I said, this year, the food bank got hit hard, and a lot of families got hit hard. And they put their mind to it, and they set a goal of $12,000 to buy turkey dinners and whole turkeys. And they ended up with $30,000, which is, as far as I know, that's about the biggest check that's ever been donated. And they didn't want any publicity or anything. You didn't see any pictures in the paper, but they just did it. So that's doing it all for the right reason, and it really made a big difference in a lot of people's lives. So thank you, Gold Canyon Country Club. Chip is going to, or Brian is going to talk a little bit more about the parade. Ordinarily, this Saturday would be the festival, and we always do the tree lighting, and I tried to start a tradition of where I would pull somebody, a child out of the crowd and let them help me do the lights. And we're not going to do that this year because of coronavirus. So as of today at dusk, the lights should have come on. So they came on with no fanfare, but still just as cool as ever. And the city did a great job putting them up again. So Bryant, why don't you tell us how the light parade's going to work?
Thank you, Your Honor. Bryant Powell, City Manager. And yes, wanted to add to all of our collective thinking is that night is also an awesome time to participate in our Chamber of Commerce Joint City of AJ Jingle in the Junction. It's been known as Light the Trail in the past, but an opportunity to, when you do the reverse parade, I think our park staff's can hand some information of a map to go and review the other businesses that are participating. And this is a tradition we started a few years back and want to keep going to celebrate the spirit of this time of year. And yes, the light parade is modified with the parade itself on that day. But I do want to extend my thanks to Parks and Rec staff and others who are still doing events and still moving forward in this time. I think it's very important messaging that we send that we can keep doing great things. And I hope that everyone will come on down, participate. It's 7 to 8:30. You don't have to all show up at 8. At 7. It could be a little bit of a line, but come as you can during that time, and you'll still be able to enjoy. Also, we're getting closer to our annual employee engagement holiday breakfast time a week from this Thursday. You're each invited to participate in with the breakfast in our modified format. We engage by definitions to get together, and we're trying to make sure we avoid some of that. But we are going to have our own form of a breakfast by having breakfast come to our employees a week from Thursday, and then the trivia contest. You all were the champions.
Yeah, I was going to ask who
And
won
so,
that last year.
Yes, the mayor and city council beat all the city departments, and the competition's brisk. And I know many departments want a chance to take down the Kings. And
Yeah, we were actually pretty good.
you are, yeah,
It wasn't even close.
yeah, it wasn't. So if you come, just remember though, we are under the executive order of the governor to wear a face shield or some form of that face shield to come at the multi-gen, and that'll be a week from this
Did the
Thursday.
attorney's office go out first, I think?
They probably did.
Yeah.
No. That's not how it went down. I want to recount.
I'm sorry.
My next item, Matt, can you pull up the, I just want to start reminding mayor and council that January, so we're not going to have too many items on January 5th. That's the night of the swearing in of the new council. So we are going to have a very full agenda for the 19th. And so, Matt, if you go to the next slide, these are the items that were direction to staff from October 20th that staff have been working very hard on for the creation and application of the CFDs in the state land area, the intergovernmental agreement between the two districts and the city for financing public infrastructure. We've had work sessions on these items, amending the city code for the master plan community designation and amending the subdivision code as well. So next slide. January 19th, this is just kind of a reiteration of that these items will be on the agenda for more discussion, but also possible action. And then the next one is the annexation. I wanted to keep this in front of our community of the area that is south of Elliott, Meridian to the canal. And Matt's doing the arrow there, thank you. To the future alignment, or Fry Road is what we call that, down to be our southern boundary with Queen Creek. Just want to keep that in our minds and remind us of those items so that we're asking questions as we go throughout this month, as also for our newly elected council members. So that's my part. We have Al coming in a second. Matt, can you go over the first quarter report for finances, if you could pull that one up? And then we'll turn the time over to Al to go over CLI and the final census update for you.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Matt Busby, Assistant City Manager. This is a real brief first quarter report. The data is actually through November, and we just showed the general fund here, the actual revenues that have been brought in. You see that represents about 32% of what was budgeted. That may seem or look a little low, but we know our winter months are the strongest as far as revenue collection. And then you see expenditures are just shortly behind that at 29%. And this doesn't include encumbered expenditures, but anything that actually has gone through yet. So it's the real data there. And then for our highway user revenue fund, similar looking numbers and percentages. Total revenues shared with us so far from the state, 1.8 million, represents 37% of the budget. And then you see our expenses there at the bottom. So we just wanted to keep you posted that all of this data is right where we think it should be as far as revenues and expenditures. We don't have any concerns to date for our budget. It's looking good so far, and we're hoping for a good winter and that our winter visitors come back and spend lots of money here, right? So things look to be tracking well.
Thank you, Matt. And Al, are you ready?
Which one, Al?
We'll do CFI first. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Al Bravo, Public Information Officer for the City of Apache Junction, and it is a pleasure to be up here speaking to you with a couple of updates on two very important parts of the city that I have been involved with, one since the day I started, which is more than 5 years ago, believe it or not, and then one of our big initiatives for the year of 2020, which might have gotten lost because there's a few other things in the news during the year, but we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. So, as you all know, we're, of course, filling a couple more board and commission positions this evening. One of the places that we get potential board members, of course, is the Citizens Leadership Institute. And the Citizens Leadership Institute is a 8 or 9 session class that I facilitate every year. We have moved it slightly, so it now runs between January and April. And of course, this year we had a little bit of an issue because we got through about half of the class, and of course that's when a virus hit and a lot of the restrictions came up. So what happened was we got through the first half of the classes, but we could not finish the other 4. So over the last month, on the dates that you see there, and finishing tomorrow night, a few of my class students, I believe, are here. And the rest of the class, more than half of them, did come back from the original 20, excuse me, to finish up the sessions of CLI. So they will finish tomorrow night, and we will make sure to acknowledge and celebrate them in January when we resume council meetings, so we can at least acknowledge them from a very different kind of class, since it got split up so much during the year. And a couple of the excuse me, a couple of the students in the current class have actually applied for board positions, and I think at least one has already been appointed. So this is also my chance to remind everybody, if you have some interest in learning more about your community, and learning more about municipal government, and certainly if you have some interest in wanting to serve, whether it's on a city board, whether it's on a nonprofit board, or anything along those lines, this is a great way to start. The next class begins on January the 13th, 2021. It is going to be held on Wednesdays like it normally is, 6:30 to 9 more or less. It is now going to be held here inside the council chambers. We're going to start to videotape the classes so people can watch them online if need be. All you have to do is go to ajcity.net/CLI to register. So hopefully we will see you if you are interested on January the 13th. Questions about CLI?
No. Great class.
Yeah, it was a fun class.
It's been a lot of fun, I got to tell you. One of the things about this job is, I get to do a lot of fun stuff. CLI is definitely a lot of fun. We've had some really spirited discussions in there, and like I said, we've had some pretty amazing folks. We had one of our students in CLI this year actually had major surgery this summer, and she came back. Was absolutely amazing. It really was. Okay, presentation number 2 is having to do, of course, with the 2020 census. And as most of you probably know, every 10 years, the United States counts all of its citizens, every single one they can. They use those numbers for a number of reasons, a number of issues, including, of course, apportioning everybody. So we're talking about congressional representatives and money that goes, every person that counts, that's counted. It's about $3,000 that comes back to that particular area in federal or state funds in some way. We're talking about $650 billion that is decided on with the numbers that the census comes up with. Of course, this year, again, very challenging to say the least on how we count everybody. It started way back at the beginning of the year before virus hit, but Census Day was actually April 1st, so it was right when things were starting to go south. So we did a number of things that we normally would do, and then some extra things that we might not have done normally as a result of all the things that were going on. We had a lot of folks out in the community. We actually joined with the Maricopa Association of Governments. They had a $1 million ad campaign that they facilitated that we were involved in. That's where I Count 2020 comes from. That was MAG's tagline. We had the mayor do a PSA. We had door hangers put up in part of the central city. We also had campaign yard signs that we did. And that's mostly because, as it turned out, this is kind of a funny map for you guys to take a look at. The darker, the bluer the sections, the better the response was to the census initially. And you can see in that central city part, we did not get as much of a response initially as we would have liked. So that's why we did some extra work in that extra area. We got to use a lot of folks from the Parks and Rec Department who were on the sidelines because they couldn't work at the pool and they couldn't work at other places. So they were able to go out there and put out the door hangers and put out the yard signs. So that really helped. We ended up with about a response rate of about 53% for the city of Apache Junction, which is kind of in the middle of everybody. There were some that were a little bit more. There were several cities that didn't have as many. I think part of it was the way the census identifies the residents included winter visitor residents, even though they weren't really counted. So that kind of skews the percentages a little bit. As of course, as a result of all that, as planned, the U.S. Census actually sends out census takers to pick up the slack of all the people who did not and make sure that they count all the addresses that were not had not responded up to that point. Once you include all of those numbers, we got to 99% of the count. So we were as accurate as probably we could have been in a pandemic kind of year, and we're certainly looking forward to seeing this very important number. It's kind of small on your screen, but the number that you see up there in the top that says 35,840, that's the population of the city of Apache Junction in 2010, the last census. We expect it to be well over 42,000 when all the numbers come back. Now, normally the census would be reported back by the end of the year, December 31st. Because of everything that's going on, it will be delayed a little bit. Ms. Valdez Cardenas, who was supposed to be here from the Census Bureau, was going to try to go through that. She let me know that, yes, they're still planning on getting all the numbers in as close to the December 31st as possible, but it likely won't happen until somewhere in the first 3 months of 2021. So more than anything else, we want to thank everybody for participating, all of our community members that got the word out, all of our partners that got the word out, all the people that worked on it. Like I said, the Maricopa Association of Governments campaign reached several million people. They think they reached somewhere north of 90% of every person in the Maricopa region, which is pretty amazing. And so we're going to just sit and wait for that big number to come in because, of course, that number will make a big difference on not just what we get dollar-wise in so many ways, but also is going to probably make a big difference in how we're represented. There is most folks in the state of Arizona believe we will get another congressional representative as a result of the census here this year in 2020. So we'll see how that goes as well.
Al, did
Yes.
you want to make mention the final number, though? Not the early numbers were 50, but once we had full, we had 99.
Yeah, we got to 99%. So they did break down the numbers the way they did the first half of the year with the census taker count. But for our area, which was the eastern part of Maricopa County and part of Pinal County, we got to 99%. So we feel pretty confident that we're going to have a very accurate number when it comes out early in 2021. Is that it? Questions? That's it.
That concludes my report, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Presentation, discussion, public hearing, and consideration of proposed ordinance number 1499, which is changing the zoning on a parcel. Rudy? Not Rudy.
Kendra.
All right, good evening, council members, mayor, and mayor-elect. My name is Kendra Elner, and I'm a planning intern here at the City of Apache Junction, and I will be presenting case PZ 719, a city-initiated rezoning for 978 East Roosevelt Street from RSGR to RS20 PD. So some background on the property. This is an approximately 2.37 acre parcel that was abandoned and occupied by trespassers for several years while owners lived in Germany. There was constant complaints and compliance issues, which motivated the city to clean up and remove the trespassers from the property with the owners' cooperation. Following these events, the owners no longer wanted to deal with the property and donated to the city, and it lay vacant since. On July 23, 2019, the city received direction to staff to proceed with all necessary actions to rezone the property from RSGR to proposed RS20 PD. So this is the zoning map that illustrates the surrounding neighborhood zoning designations. Directly to the east, there are properties zoned RM2, which is multifamily residential, and to the north, south, and west, predominantly RSGR, or low-density residential. The aerial map depicts the current view of the parcel zoned RSGR, and the planning staff is proposing the zoning to become RS20 PD, medium density single family detached residential by planned development. So the planning staff was initially requesting to rezone the vacant parcel from RSGR to RS20, but recent topographical information encouraged further recommendation of proposing it to RS20 by planned development to help mitigate the topographical constraints when possibly processing a lot split with reduced setbacks and with an allowance of possibly 2 horses per lot, which could be cohesive with the character of the neighborhood. So the staff analysis and recommendation notes that the proposal may conflict with the city's general plan because of the future land use is designated for low density residential. But the proximity to downtown and the variety of land uses in the area invites higher density. This is considered a minor general plan amendment. And while the parcel is currently zoned for low density, it is proposed to be split into 3 medium density parcels with a planned development overlay to be cohesive with the variety of zoning in the neighborhood and adhere to the topographical constraints. There are currently discussions of the conceptual buildable area, and when the properties are to be sold and developed, the new owners will have to coordinate with the utility companies for new services. So this is the future land use map exhibit that shows the variety of land uses in the area proposed in the 2020 general plan. And as you can see, the parcel in question is projected to be low density with similar designations directly to the north, south, and west, but the high density to the east and the proximity to downtown encourages the high density designation. And then this is the city's conceptual land split map of the proposed 3-lot land split, creating about lots about approximately 0.79 acres each. And this is the conceptual net area diagram that supports the staff's recommendations for rezoning the parcel to RS20 PD and the possible buildable area with the setbacks in the front and rear and allowing possibly 2 horses per lot with the PD overlay. And the topography map further visualizes the wash constraints of the buildable area, and specifically to the west lot. This topographical information further supports why the staff has led to recommend rezoning to RS20 PD. So although the commission meeting was held on November 10th and led to one neighbor commenting about concerns for the horses on this property, and the meeting was concluded to have a continuance on the case and requested staff to come back with 2 additional options for land splits on December 8th. So our staff recommendation is for City Council to approve the rezoning case, to rezone the 2.37 acre property for the purpose of creating an opportunity to process a 3-parcel land split under 5 conditions. And the 5 conditions are as follows. Following effective rezoning, the city staff shall take all necessary steps to split the property, and staff shall coordinate with the city engineer on any additional easements needed. City shall disclose to prospective buyers that additional property improvements may be necessary upon purchase. And then applicable permits and development fees will be due at the time of development. And then the RS20 PD zoning shall be allowed 20-foot setbacks on the front and rear yards and 10-foot setbacks on the side yards, and possibly 2 horses allowed per lot. So considering the P&Z's request for the continuance, here's a table of the possible configurations for this parcel, and we can go back to this if you'd like for the discussion. So the council has an option on deciding for this case tonight, but we also suggest a continuance for actually January 19, 2021 on the item, so the P&Z Commission can decide and bring it back.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. We'll have the public hearing.
Mr.
Anyone?
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
just real quickly, the ultimate recommendation of staff is to approve the zoning. However, you cannot do that tonight.
Right.
Because P&Z has not given their recommendation. So they're going to meet on the 8th with 2 new members. We really don't know what they're going to do. That's why the request is to move this to January 19th.
But we still need to have the public.
Oh, absolutely. You still have the public hearing, absolutely.
Okay.
Can we ask one question? Right, this land is right behind the Skies Restaurant.
Correct.
Have they been in contact with the idea of the split to put 3 houses where there was one time 1?
Well, there was a ad in the newspaper for this rezoning meeting, so we don't I don't know if we specifically talked about the lot, like the 3 land split.
Yeah, all the properties in the surrounding area have been notified. We did not hear back from Skies. Yeah. The old owner, I think, is now the new owner, and I think they've been closed for a while, or maybe just part-time. So, but we have not had. We had one comment from Mr. Bowrider next door. But we didn't have any comments directly from Skies or whether their opinion of 1 lot, 3 lots. We didn't hear from them at all.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Larry, tell me for the 3-way split, tell me the size of each piece again.
Each, whoops, I got to use this, I guess. They are each about 0.8 acres, so I think that's about 33,000 square feet. Also with this, we have to dedicate 25 feet. So that drawing helps. The area in the orange, if you're not colorblind, that's the 25-foot dedication. So that makes these buildable areas a little bit smaller. Mm-hmm. The zoning would allow for a 25-foot setback. We're suggesting a 20-foot setback. Mm-hmm. Again, with a PD, maybe the lot to the far left would be 20, maybe the others stay at 25, mm-hmm. I don't know. The east lot has plenty of multiple building sites up and down. Mm-hmm. There's some high spots and low spots in the middle lot. The lot to the west really only has that buildable area, and we're trying to stay away from the wash. That purple line is really kind of a setback line. We're trying to stay 20 feet away from the wash. We're also showing some grading. The area in that greenish color, that we would fill, but then we would excavate the red on the north side of the wash to compensate so we don't constrain the wash.
And she said there were 2 horses allowed per piece?
Well, that's what we were suggesting.
Okay.
Again, the neighbor was not too keen on that. There are some horses in the area, of course. With the PD, even though they're less than 1.25 acres with a PD, you could allow for horses. Again, that's up for discussion.
Did the planning and zoning talk about any issues at all with horses being allowed in that area? Because right across the street, there was that big issue where there was just a little under, or it wasn't advertised right, and then the person had a horse, and
Yeah,
do
that
you
was
foresee
that
any
was a
issues?
rezoning where it was 1.23 acres or something like that.
Well, we want to be horse-friendly, and I don't know.
So
what
that's
the
why I
response
guess we
was.
added that option. So again, going back to the Plan Commission, there were many permutations of how many, is it 1 lot, that's 2.37, is it 2 lot, do you split the lot 50-50, or do you make 1 lot 1.25 acres and the other one 1.19, I think it is, 1.18, or you create the 3 lots where each of them is roughly 3/4 of an acre, still a good-sized lot.
My question was, in the process of, if the council goes in favor of allowing the horses to continue with our horse community in this area, does the planning and zoning or staff, have they talked about any potential issues that are arising? There's the one neighbor was the only one that came forward.
Only one so far. And then we were going to limit it to 2 horses rather than right now the city has no limit on horses. So with a smaller lot size, we were going to have it limited to 2 horses max.
Just so we don't have that situation that we seem to end up in every once in a while where.
Right. The other thing is utilities. Right now it would be served by septic. And then there is water available off of Royal Palm, but to bring water in, one of the ideas of the cost of bringing water in, you can divide that by 3 lots. And we think it's easier to sell a lot with city water or with Apache Junction, it's Arizona Water Company. But it may be easier to sell a lot that has water than having somebody drill their own well. So those are all kind of considerations in 3 lots versus 2 versus 1. The other thing that it's not part of the rezoning, but we have had internal discussions about what happens to the proceeds. So we do want to sell these lots. With the proceeds, staff and management would like the proceeds of the lot sales to go to the Community Development Corporation. This was a redevelopment project. The Community Development Corporation could take the proceeds and then go help redevelop another piece of property, clean up another property in town, and that could really help the CDC get up and going with redevelopment efforts in other parts of town. So the recommendation really for tonight is to continue to January 19th, to a date certain. And then, of course, as Mayor said, a public hearing.
So if no more questions, I'll ask for public hearing if anyone would like to speak on this item.
Mr. Schroeder.
You need to approach the podium if you want to speak.
George Schroeder, 2444 West Virginia. I got personally involved in that case. I remember it very well. They were essentially domestic terrorists that had taken over the property, just squatted there. The city dragged its feet, and Sky's owners at length went in there and said, why? Why is it so hard to get rid of these people? They don't belong there. The people own it in Germany. Well, they had relatives here. They could have easily taken care of this problem. And I don't know why the city didn't, or why code enforcement didn't, development services didn't do anything better. We have a problem there. It takes too long to get rid of bad actors, and people just abandon their property, like 2525 West Virginia, still there. Why? So, to do with the horses, of course we love horses. I think it should be 2 lots, not 1. 1, you're going to get more money with 2 lots instead of 3. That's how it works out. It's more attractive. You can do more things with 2 lots. People, I know people that do these things. I think we should have a minimum acreage for horses and to be allowed some of the stuff that the city allows them to do. With 3 acres or 3 lots, it just shrinks everything. And that's why we don't get anything, because people come and they don't see choices. They're crammed in this little box, and they don't look at it. We need to really make it interesting and what somebody wants, but not take 5 years. 5 years for this, and I think it's even longer than that, but 5 years for the city to deal with one owner who doesn't even live in this country. I think eminent domain should have been taken care of right away. That is our prerogative. If you're not going to take care of your property and you're not a citizen, goodbye. Anyway, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak?
I'm Jeff Barlett. I'm over at 108 North Meridian Drive, apartment 220 in Apache Junction, Arizona. First thing I'd like to say is that, I was watching that ordinance, or not the ordinance, I was watching that P&Z meeting, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I was in attendance there. And I noticed one of the members was mentioning that this property should be split down the middle. I think that's a good idea. I think that would be a good idea because it would align with the rest of the properties next to it. And I also feel that we should support horse property because this is Apache Junction. People like to ride their horses here, and I think it's a good idea to support that. And thank you very much.
Anyone else?
My name is Gilbert Martinez. First of all, congratulations to the new members to be elected. And okay, my issue is not really an issue. Well, I guess an issue. It's regarding the Republic Garbage Company. I don't know if I need to say anything because I don't, but they've been sitting in a building. They never have service. I never had service in my house because I always use the.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, this is.
One moment, sir.
So, at the end of the meeting, you'll have a chance
Oh,
to
okay.
talk about
Oh, I didn't know.
anything you want. Now we're talking about this issue with this P&Z.
Oh, with that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. That was, but okay, I'm sorry. It's
All
my
right.
bad.
It's okay.
So we'll hear from
Okay,
you in a little bit.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Mahmoud Mayuddin, 2304 North Cortez Road, Apache Junction, Arizona. I would suggest and recommend that it's split into two parts. There's acre and a half property. And the second thing is why the city is restricting so many horses per acres and all that stuff. My question is, if in a household live 3 people or 4 people, they allow 4 or 5 cars, and they are changing the oils of the tires sitting over there. We are not controlling anything, but this is a western town, and people love their horses. Why are we restricting the horses? If family after 3, they want to have 3 horses, they should have 3 horses. If they don't clean up, city code enforcement job is to do and ask them to clean up their property. That's what should be allowed. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a revised motion.
Your Honor, I move that the public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 1499 be continued to the January 19th City Council meeting as the Planning and Zoning Commission continue their case to their next meeting on December 8th, 2020,
January 8th, honey.
where they would present 2 additional split lots options.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Motion continues.
Presentation, discussion, and possible consideration of Resolution 20-42, authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Maricopa County for the Sheriff's Office for basic training. Chief.
Mayor-elect, City Council, staff, this is one IGA or intergovernment agreement that we're asking you to consider and approve for us to be able to utilize the Maricopa County Sheriff's Police Academy. As you're aware, we received a grant to hire 8 new officers. Currently, to find an academy in Arizona is near impossible, so we're trying to reach out for a variety of different other sources. We, in the past, have used Mesa as our regular academy. Currently, we're reaching out for Maricopa County, and they've agreed to secure some seats for us early January. And we also have reached out for the Department of Public Safety. But this is just trying to ensure that we can get the people who are attempting to hire under the grant into an academy that will give them the proper training.
Any discussion?
I just have one question. So is there a big difference between what the training for a city officer versus a county officer would be?
I mean, the basic training is very similar. They'll go, some of the things that they'll have for the county officer, there's some of the county codes and issues like that, where the city ones, we come back and we do that through a field training program. Similarly, the Department of Public Safety does mostly highway traffic enforcement and some limited criminal things, but we would take care of that additional training. Once they're out of the training academy, then they come back to us and they go through an 18-week field training program with our officers here. So it takes us almost a year to get an officer through the training program to get them actually to work the street by themselves. So we're trying to move forward in anticipation of hiring these 8 additional officers.
Any more questions?
Yes, sir.
No, we just love to go to the graduations when they graduate. So if we get the invitation, we'll love to go.
Absolutely. I think it's very important that do that, and it's made an impact on most of the officers that have come back. They have city council and city manager and city attorney have been present during those graduations, so that definitely will be done.
With no further questions, I'll ask for a motion.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that resolution number 20-42, authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Maricopa County for use of Maricopa County Sheriff's Office Basic Training Academy.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker, I'll come back. Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Struble,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker, Mayor Surtee.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mayor Surtee.
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Presentation, discussion, and possible consideration of proposed resolution 20-43, intergovernmental agreement with the town of Mammoth.
Mayor-elect, City Council, Chief Kelly again. In this resolution, we're asking you to approve us to share some outdated equipment that we've had in our process of traffic enforcement. We've updated our traffic enforcement, for lack of a better term, radar system to a LiDAR, which is laser based. Mammoth PD has indicated that they would be readily available to accept these and use them in their area where they don't have the tools. And with this agreement would allow us to share the law enforcement equipment in regards to the traffic items that we currently have, and then opens the door to share additional information should that arise.
Any discussion or questions? Similar to things we do with our old vehicles, et cetera.
Correct.
And for those asking, there's really not enough money to recoup by selling them, so usually this works out better and it builds goodwill towards our surrounding communities.
And as the mayor said, these are functioning units and they are still usable. However, they that have them repaired or try to salvage, as the mayor had said, that they would probably get close to nothing for them, and they'd end up being destroyed. So it's a viable tool that they can still use.
So with that, I'll ask for a motion.
Your Honor. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I move that to approve resolution 20-43, authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Mammoth for the transfer of Apache Junction's used law enforcement equipment.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Struble,
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker,
Yes.
Mayor Surtee.
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
And do we need to hang up on Robin now?
Do we need
Or
do we not?
You're
What? No, I mean.
You don't have to hang
is
up,
she-
but she, I don't
Does she
think
need to
she's
step
going to
out or anything?
participate because of the conflict. She's not going to vote on it, I don't believe.
Okay, so she could stay there. She's out of the room already, so she can just, okay.
That's okay. Good to clarify.
Yes. Krista, did you have?
Yeah, Your Honor, I just wanted to make a comment about when the council appoints people to the boards. We always have, more times than not, we have a lot of great candidates. And it can be a really tough decision when you have several that would be really good fits. You know, sometimes people feel like it's a vote against them, when really, in fact, it's a vote in favor of somebody. It's not necessarily, you know, we don't, don't take it personally. We do the best that we can. We look at all the different candidates and look at the different backgrounds, and it's not a personal or political thing. So if you don't get selected, a few of us up here have been through the process, try again. It doesn't mean anything personal. So we appreciate everybody that put in for it. If you didn't get it, don't take it personal, keep trying.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Schoenbeck called earlier this evening and said he had a prior obligation and would not be here this evening, but he is still very interested in serving on PNC.
Okay, noted.
Thank you.
Since Chip is going to be the next mayor, I'm going to let him do the first nomination.
Well, thank you. I move to appoint Richard Cantwell to be appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on October 31st, 2021.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Yes?
Councilmember Barker?
Nope, nope. and she
Oh,
can't.
sorry. Councilmember Schroeder?
I had someone else in mind, I'm saying no.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Motion passes, Your Honor.
Okay, do we have a motion on the next?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move to appoint Mahmoud Modine to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on October 31st, 2022.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Evans?
no.
Councilmember Rizzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
No.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
I have someone else in mind, so I'm going to say no at this time.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
You have a tie. Motion, I believe motion fails.
Yep.
Joe?
Yep.
Motion
So
fails.
we have another motion on someone else?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move to appoint Robin Barker to be appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on October 31st, 2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi?
As great as I think Robin would be on the commission, I just have somebody else, so it's nothing personal, but no.
Okay. Councilmember Struble?
Same thing, I've got somebody else in mind, I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Vice Mayor Wilson?
You know, I'm going to say yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Motion passes, Your Honor.
Council direction to staff on amending cargo container regulations. Larry.
Mayor, Council, Larry Kirch, Director of Development Services. This has been here a couple times, so I didn't create a presentation. I think you know all the issues. Staff continues to recommend the same recommendation that the Planning Commission gave, which is not to amend the regulations at this time. And I can answer any questions, or you can
Questions or
start giving
discussion?
direction.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I really hate this topic, and I truly wish it hadn't come up before us again. I don't think these belong in our residential neighborhoods. They're commercial shipping cargoes. And I don't care if they're in commercial or industrial places. There's many options for outside storage. I've been a horse person for over 25 years. I've had problems with pack rats. I've had problems with my dogs eating the pack rats. I've had problems with my dog eating the wood sheds. That's part of being out in the desert. It's not our only option. I did some research, and we have a local cargo container company in the Pinal County industrial area, and they even come in three different categories. There's A, where they've been used to ship one time, and they're sealed, they're watertight, and the doors close properly, and they're windproof, and of course those are the most expensive. And then there's B's and C's, which C's aren't even watertight. I mean, they're susceptible to damage and critters just like anything else. And I have no objection to them being in a commercial or industrial setting. But as far as in our residential neighborhoods, I drive this state a lot. And I see them on ranches when there's cattle and there's horses and, you know, they're on 20 acres. Everyone still knows it's a cargo container. That's what it is. What's on the screen right now is from the company that it's All Star Shipping Containers. And it talks about the grading system. We don't have any idea of what people are bringing in here. And they're bringing them in and not getting permits, because none of the websites I was on today, not the one here in Apache Junction or any of them in Phoenix or any of them on eBay, say check with your local municipality for permits. They just bring them out. $150, you can have one delivered out onto your property. They don't ask questions. They want to sell cargo containers. And it's been brought up how secure they are. And, you know, I had an MD barn built. It's about as secure as you could get on a cement floor. And I was still broken into because nowadays we have rotary saws that are battery powered. You can cut a lock any place you want to. I really hate that this came back, but in driving the city, they don't belong inside a city. We're about to annex all of this land for a new development, a new look for this whole city, and our pristine area where we want to keep our horses. Why would we allow something to make them look commercial or industrial? Because even though there's all of those cutesy pictures, there's not one person that has put those on their property that's done anything even close to looking like that. And even the one that Mayor-elect Wilson said he didn't want a picture taken of it. Well, why not? Because he's using it for a business. He doesn't have a permit for it. You know, there's a place for these. But in our residential, do we want to keep going down the same old road of the malfunction junction and we can just put whatever we want because it's easy? Matt, can you bring up those code cases where we have these now? I'm not sure where any of these addresses are, but you know, it's not painted. It doesn't look nice. It looks like it's been shipped a few times around. next to a house. And if you see one anywhere, and everyone does this, oh, well, they did it, I can go do it too. They don't check with the city for permits. They just do it. Can you go, that's right on Cactus. They moved in and moved these 4 cargo containers in with them. They didn't ask anything about it. And I know not everybody has a junky property. But if you allow one, they're going to be everywhere. And if we had no other options, if there was no other secure kind of buildings we could have on our horse properties, I could understand it. And these aren't cheap either. I mean, a 20-footer, you're going to spend $3,000 for it. I even, one company even sent me an invoice on it.
Where are you shopping?
For $3,000?
What do you find them costing?
They're not $3,000 unless you have them primed out with windows and doors.
No, I mean, some of them
They're
are
about
as cheap as $1,500,
For a B grader.
$2,000, and it depends on the grade, whether it's A, B, or C. Do they bother to ask the city any of this? Hell no. They just wheel them on out. They got electricity hooked up to them. Is that what they were meant for? No.
Krista would like to respond.
Gosh, there's just so much to untangle there. We've got neighbors and people in the community that have garages that are 10 times the size of cargo containers and painted bright red. Just because they're built doesn't make them any different, any more or less secure. We can't guarantee that somebody's shed is secure. It could have a leaky roof, so I'm not sure what the concern would be about what the grade is that somebody would have. That's their business if they want their belongings destroyed. I can't imagine somebody spending that kind of money and buying something that's going to have a leaky roof and ruin their belongings. We keep talking about wanting people to clean up and get their stuff stored and put away. This is an option. It's a much cheaper option than having something built. Not everybody's bankrolled. We live in a community of working class people that are doing the best they can.
I don't.
When we look at it seems to me that one of the biggest issues is color. They're bright yellow, so when we do a presentation, either in favor, we find the ones that are desert color. When we want to do a presentation and present the worst looking ones, we find pictures of brightly colored ones. It's simple. Do what we did with medical marijuana and regulate them. Rather than, if your concern is them people dragging them in, well, let's regulate them. We had to do it with medical marijuana, the same thing.
Wouldn't
you had
that
an
one-
option of having a facility or letting people grow it in their house.
Wouldn't that one picture with all the garbage piled against it, wouldn't that have been a violation anyway?
I would think
I would-
so.
Yeah, so that was not a good picture to represent.
And then go by the lot size, whatever the size of the lot is. If somebody paints it the natural colors, what is the difference whether it's a shed? There was a gentleman at the last time we had this discussion that had talked about their shed getting destroyed. I've had that happen with personal belongings in it that can't be replaced because we had in July, whatever those, not mini tornadoes or whatever, come through. I have 1.25 acres. Half the shed ended up in my front yard, half ended up in back, and everything in it was completely destroyed. I mean, I think we're just stuck on this one issue of brightly colored things that look horrendous in the community when that's not the case. Regulate them. Tell people you got to paint them.
Anyone else? Chip?
Yeah. Well, first off, in response to you about the person that didn't want the picture taken of it, and is exactly right, there's a reason why he doesn't want it taken. And he is not a businessman. He is a homeowner and living in the home. The sheds are used as sheds, they are secure. He has items in it that he wants to protect, and he has tools in one of them that he uses all the time. So these are very secure. You were saying that, yeah, you can cut into them. Yes, you can, but you're going to be creating one hell of a lot of noise because these things are not just just a thin piece of metal. They are fairly thick and they are very strong on it. The locks on the doors are recessed back in to prevent somebody from going in there. Even trying to get a bolt cutter in there is extremely difficult into getting into it. And I'm for one saying that, you know, we should have that ability and yes, regulate it, put in some requirements that they do things to improve the looks of them. I don't have a problem with that. Size of lots, you can get, in that company you talk about, the Star, they have 10, 15, 25 foot, 20 foot size containers that they can have. So, you know, if it's a small lot, we could say you can have, and the thing is, you can have a 10 foot, which is less than 120 square foot. And it would be smaller than a standard shed, which is very weak in it. If you're wanting something to store and you're wanting to protect it, I can understand why people would like to have them. And that's more what I was thinking, is getting this so that we can put in some requirements and definitely notify, come out and let people know if you bring one in, you have to have a permit and you have to meet these certain requirements on them. It's something I think that we need to aggressively look at and enforce.
I think Robert had a great idea when he said limit it to the size of the lot. That would that makes perfect sense to me.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I guess I misunderstood because I thought this had to do with allowing cargo containers on a lot smaller than the acre and a quarter.
Yes.
Was that not the original idea that came up 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
What's the difference?
Okay. I guess my question is, so what about the guy who gets one of the 1/3 of the lot that we're looking to split, and he can have 2 horses, and now he wants a storage or a cargo container? So do we change it again and go down to his size lot? I guess my question is, where's the line?
Yeah,
Where are we drawing the line on lot sizes and cargo containers?
I would think we would limit it to the size of the lot. So if they only have a smaller lot, they could have a smaller container. So
I have a question for Larry. What are our current regulations in getting a permit, and what do they have to do? Because my problem hasn't got anything to do with it comes to the property in whatever color it is. My problem is nobody's doing anything with them.
Yeah, we currently regulate them. And you come in and you apply for a permit, and then we review the permit application. They'll usually send a photo, but there's supposed to be a landscape plan, and then they'll tell us what earth tone they're painting it. And then we issue the permit, and then a lot of times we'll go out and inspect where you're going to put it to make sure it meets the setbacks and that is capable of being landscaped. So the idea is that you are going to hide them. And so when they go in, they're all supposed to have landscaping around them, desert plants, and they're supposed to be earth tone. Those are the 2 main, and they got to meet setbacks.
And of our problems with these, how many people have actually gotten permits?
I don't know the total number of permits off the top of our head. I would say 90% of them are all code cases.
They don't bother.
Yeah, and all the ones that you saw today, some were code cases, some will be code cases tomorrow. So the one that had the 3 cargo containers, all 40-footers, with a canopy over them and a pontoon boat inside, that is a code case. So that, with the air conditioner in it, or with the swamp cooler. So all of those will be code cases tomorrow.
Larry, what about people that rent them? You can have them brought in, you load them up, they have these moving containers, and they get hauled back out. Did they
We have provisions already in the code
there
for
a
folks that
permit?
are moving or have a fire and they want to have one of those smaller containers. Usually those are about 20 footers. Those we allow in the driveway, while if, say, you had a major fire and water damage, we allow people to put all wasn't destroyed in there while they remodel, then they can go back in. So those, we don't charge for those at all. We also have a process, if you're building a house and you want to store the tools to build the house, you can bring in a cargo container for 8 months, I believe, and you can store all your tools so that everything's there, secured. You build your house, cargo container leaves. So we
So-
do have those flexible provisions as well.
There's a time frame for people that are going to have it loaded and hauled out, their belongings that are maybe moving? Is there a time
Yes.
frame or no?
Those, again, a lot of those we don't know. Typically, those are those pods or whatever. We don't even try to regulate or look at the pods that you get from U-Haul. We figure if it's there for a while and we get a complaint, we'll go after it.
Right.
But those mini pods, we don't even try to regulate them because
Well,
it's
that
not.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Good, glad to hear
Okay.
that.
All right, we're going to go back to Robin.
Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, I just got,
Yeah, so she was her raising her hand to me, and the text was late. So
okay,
she's,
so she already got recognized.
she did.
Okay.
I did. Thank you very much.
Okay, I want to do another testimonial. Someone that didn't have horses, but and this is he didn't really give me permission to do a testimonial. But when the artist was building the Kachina, he had so much stuff of value in his property. He had precious stones and slabs of quartz and fossils and stuff. And he had to secure that into a cargo container. It couldn't go in his house. You couldn't secure it in a shed. So that was a perfect example of someone using it that just needed ultimate security. I mean, he had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff out there that needed to be secured. So
Larry, I had one more question. So, because these are usually 8 feet wide and 20 feet long, and our permits on a site-built shed or a tough shed, anything like that, what would be the cost of a permit for that versus the permit of bringing in one of these
Cargo
units?
container's $100 for a permit, and a shed is based on the square footage, so 160, so 120 square feet, as Vice Mayor Wilson said, no permit under that. So if it was 8 by 20, that's 160. Then you would, if they were to build a tough shed, the permit's going to be roughly around there, that same price.
So it's a comparative.
Yeah.
If
I don't know
they
the
bother.
exact number off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be that much for that type of shed.
Have we ever reached out to any of the cargo container companies to say, did you know that in Apache Junction you need a permit to place these? I mean, we've kind of had to do that with mobile home movers who have moved in the old units that aren't allowed here.
Not with
use
cargo
third
containers. We
party?
have for the tough shed folks, though. We have driven to the county island down there and tell folks, this unit right here looks like a cabin. That needs a permit.
That would be like going to Home Depot and telling Home Depot
Yeah,
the
we
same
can't.
thing. How you get your shed home is your business.
Right.
And a lot of these cargo containers use third-party haulers.
So, yeah, we have not reached out to any cargo container sellers whatsoever.
Well, and that's why I would just as soon leave it like it is. People are abusing it. If we make it an exception for smaller properties, if you have an HOA, you're not going to be allowed to have one in there anyways, because it can't be over the height of the rear yard fence. They're not going to appear down south of 60. This is the only area that they're going to be placed in. And I just assume, because of the abuse of it, we do have other options. This is not the holy grail of storage. And I just say leave the ordinance as it is, or we need to go deeper into it and figure out how we can make this happen without all of the abuse that we have. because nobody's following the rules.
All right, well, this is just for direction to staff, so I believe if there is a motion for direction to staff to go on, then the future council will be discussing this more. So if there's no more discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to give the direction to staff that we look at the ability of allowing, I'll say, cargo containers on the lots in the city, make them as, I'll say, size of lots, what can be used and what needs to be done to a cargo container to try to neutralize it in this.
Second.
Roll call.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Councilmember Barker?
No.
Councilmember Rizzi?
This kind of reminds me of signage that evolves as we go, and it may not be the holy grail for storage, but it's certainly a new wave of storage. And so I kind of look at it as when we went through signage, and we have to evolve with the times. Things change. If we're not going to be stuck in, 10 years ago. Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
No.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Motion passes, Your Honor.
Another direction to staff on possibly creating a draft ordinance relating to recreational marijuana. This is not Rudy. Rudy is here.
Yeah, Rudy's here.
Okay.
And he presented the same presentation last night. It's really open for, unless Rudy had something further.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, good evening. Good evening, Mayor-elect, and members of the council, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to go through the whole presentation. I'm just going to try to address some of the questions that came up last night. We talked about several things. One of the questions had to do with our dual licensees. In other words, establishments that sell both medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. Are they going to be required to have separate entrances or separate areas for the medical versus the recreational? And according to the law that was enacted, dual licensees do not have to have a separate entrance or areas, but may be required to implement theft deterrent measures and regulate customer access. So they may still have their waiting rooms and allow only a certain number of customers to go into the facility at a time, but they are not required to separate the medical from the recreational. Another question that came up, can people under 21 go into a recreational marijuana establishment? The answer to that is no. Then the part of the question was also, can a person under 21 go into a medical marijuana establishment? And the answer to that appears to be yes. I spoke to some folks at Nature's Wonder. If a person under the age of 21, under the age of 18, may be a qualifying patient, so that person could go into a medical marijuana establishment to get their medication without possible parent accompaniment. I think she said she's seen people as young as 16 with medical marijuana cards go into the store. She doesn't think she's seen anybody younger than that. And of course, you cannot buy recreational marijuana if you are under the 21 years of age. Question about, for purposes of home cultivation, what is considered a home? All the code says is you can grow marijuana in your primary residence. And there is no definition for what a primary residence is, so I think it's kind of wide open. It could be a house, it could be an apartment, it could be an RV, it could be a room you're renting in somebody's house. If that's your primary residence, you are allowed to grow up to 6 plants if you are 21 years of age or older.
So an RV could be driving around with, anyway, yep.
Possibly, doesn't necessarily have to be a fixed primary residence. Yeah.
That's why I wanted clarification.
What the code says is cultivation must take place in a closet, room, greenhouse, other enclosed area with a lock that prevents access by minors. The act also alludes to possibly growing plants outside as long as the plants are not generally visible from public view. After the meeting, Mayor-elect Wilson asked me Felons, how would felons, or could felons be allowed to purchase medical marijuana or recreational marijuana? It is possible that our next felon could get a medical marijuana card, maybe especially if their rights are restored, but probably not while under probation or parole. Normally, the use of drugs, the use of alcohol a lot of times is prohibited when a person, it's prohibited for a parolee. Anyone over 21 will be able to buy recreational marijuana. Very unlikely that marijuana establishments will do background checks or have a database to work with to know who's a felon, who's not a felon. So really it would come back to somebody who's going through parole. If they get busted by their parole officer, it would be their own responsibility. The question that kind of lingers out there is what rules is the Department of Health Services going to come up with to try and regulate this to whatever extent they can? Will they set up any kind of database? We don't know at this time. The state is responsible for conducting the background checks for marijuana establishments, marijuana testing facilities, and marijuana agents. But once again, if you are a person who has an ID that says you're over 21, you can buy it. I think that's basically the questions that came up last night, Mr. Mayor. And once again, we do have the options for you to consider or for direction to staff. There's a few of them here. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
Just a comment that cargo containers would be a lot more secure than a shed to have people growing at home.
Depending on the kind of shed you buy and maintain.
Okay, so
I gotta say, this is an interesting topic. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't in favor of this enactment by the citizens of Arizona to approve this, but they have, and so it's law, and so we get to determine what we're going to do in Apache Junction, and it's an interesting thing. Because we are as elected officials, we're here to make sure that our citizens are protected, and it's just going to put a whole lot more problems on our public safety officers to somehow try to go through all these rules that they're going to have to implement, like having one person living in a house can grow 6 plants. If there's 2, they can grow 12. It's obviously there's nobody going to be checking that kind of stuff. And then the second thing that we're here to allow for fair and equitable commerce. And one of the things that we're being asked to do is to limit the number of facilities that can actually sell, which limits the capitalistic attitude that America was built on. And there again, it goes on to the effect that if there's more people selling, the price will go down, competition and everything like that. But then also, if there's people out there growing marijuana in their house, that I have no idea, but I've heard that they probably can't use 6 plants on a personal level. And so they're going to be out there entrepreneurially disposing of their plants, which then we won't be able to capitalize on it because we can't get tax on it. And then the third one is that we're called to make sure that we take care of our public welfare of our communities, and we tried to prohibit alcohol sales and everything back in the early 1900s, and we all know what happened there. It just went crazy, and people got really rich, and the mobs got really, and it just went bad. And so we have to be real careful about how we regulate it. But the public welfare is that I don't care what anybody says. There's nobody can tell me that alcohol is good for our society, and there's nobody can tell me that the sale of marijuana legally is good for our society. And so it's going to be incumbent upon our government and hopefully our nonprofits and everybody else out there to tackle the problems of the abuse that's going to be taking place. And it's just but we as elected officials have to come up with the best options to take care of this problem. And I really, we're just going to be suggesting for staff for the future, just really take this into account. And the health department hasn't even come up with their regulations yet. It's kind of like when the IRS or when the government started with this PPP program. I'm going off on a tangent here, but they don't even have the regulations yet, and it's 10 months later. Like Councilman Arizzi said, this is an ongoing thing, and it's not that we're going to be getting it right this time, because we're going to have to, future councils are going to have to battle this thing going down the road. So it's very important that future councils take it, you're all going to take it very seriously, don't get me wrong, but take into account everything that has to be decided on those three things, making sure our public is safe and what our employees, our public safety people have to deal with in enforcing all these new regulations, and looking out for competition. Because if we just allow, it's one of those things, if we just allow the current medical marijuana people to do it, it's kind of having a monopoly. Because there are people out there who want to be entrepreneurs and want to take advantage of this and make some money off of it. And all that. So we have to take into account of that. And then public safety, the public welfare, just making sure that our young people, we already have, believe me, when I work with the homeless people every 2 weeks, not every 2 weeks, I visit with them all the time, but when we do the showers and the feeding them every 2 weeks at the Salvation Army, it is heartbreaking what the addictions are taking due into our people. And when I've got a 15, 16-year-old kid that walks in and is homeless because he's been kicked out of his house because he's addicted to something, it just breaks your heart. And we as a society have to make sure we take care of that. And this is only going to make that issue even worse. So I really plead with the future councils and our state legislators and our federal legislators to take this thing serious and to implement some good, strong rules and regulations that will address those three issues. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Does anyone have a motion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm going to just read what they've presented to us as possible directions to staff, because I think it's a good start. If that's, I move that the following direction to staff regarding recreational marijuana be to allow existing dispensaries to become dual licenses, require the CUP amendment process, operate under the same rules as existing dispensaries, allow recreational marijuana sales to, but no cultivation or processing, allow medical marijuana to convert to recreational marijuana through a CUP amendment. Our code still allows for medical marijuana cultivation and infusion kitchens, and that would be the motion I'd like to make.
Is there a second? I'll second it.
As a start, I mean, it's a start for right now till we hear from the state or.
I'll second it. Jennifer, someone else could make another motion on top of this, correct? But it
Your
is.
Honor, I'd like to just add to Councilmember Rizzi's motion that marijuana be treated like a retail or liquor stores in the B1, B2, and B3 zones.
Jennifer, is that then an amendment to that motion?
It's an amendment to the motion.
Okay.
As long as Councilmember Rizzi approves.
Please,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, actually, you have to vote on the
First?
amendment first,
It's-
and then you
right.
do the main motion.
Okay, so vote on the
But is there
Okay.
did someone
Amendment.
second Evans's?
Councilmember Rizzi.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the amendment, we're voting, correct?
Correct, on the amendment.
Okay, can we have a roll call on the amended amendment?
Councilmember Schroeder.
No.
Vice Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilmember Barker.
Yes.
Councilmember Evans.
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi.
For right now, no.
Councilmember Struble.
Yes.
Mayor Surtee.
No.
So the motion passed with the amendment. And now
Now the main motion.
the main motion, which was
Roll,
the 5 bullet points.
roll call on the main motion.
Okay, Councilmember Schroeder.
No.
Vice Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilmember Barker.
Yes.
Councilmember Evans.
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi.
I understand where Councilmember Strubel's coming from with the concerns, but I feel like we have to get ahead of this, and we can change it down the road, so I'm going to say yes.
Councilmember Struble.
Well, I was making my statement because I want to make sure people are aware of it. But yeah, we've got to go forward on implementing something in our city. That's a given. So yes.
Mayor Surtee.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes, Your Honor.
Do we have a motion on upcoming council dates?
Your Honor?
Yes.
You getting the scale?
Yeah, I got it. I move that an executive session at 6 PM and a work session at 7 PM for Monday, December 14th, 2020, and a Tuesday, December 15th, 2020, be held in the City Council Conference Room and City Council Chambers located at 300 East Superstition Boulevard, Apache Junction, Arizona, respectively, and other meetings if necessary.
Yes.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Barker.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes.
Councilmember Struble.
Yes.
Councilmember Evans.
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi. Councilmember Schroeder.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Mayor Surtee.
Yes.
Motion passes, Your Honor.
This is a time for the public to express requests, communications, comments, and suggestions. Each speaker must have already filled out a request to speak form and handed it to the city clerk before the end of the city manager's report. All issues shall be presented in a professional manner without personal attacks. Under the open meeting law, the council cannot engage in discussion on the issues presented, but may respond to criticism and may direct staff to follow up with the speaker directly and/or place this matter on a future agenda for council discussion. There's a 3-minute time limit, and we have Gilbert Martinez.
Your Honor, Mr. Martinez had a family matter to attend to, so he has left.
So we'll go to George Schroeder.
George Schroeder, 244 West Virginia. You know, tonight, look at all these problems that we have, and there's 1,000 more right behind it. Code enforcement won't even make these people in their motorhomes, their teepees, their travel trailers get off of the property. And you want to put these storage boxes on people's property. I'm telling you right now, they're already living in them. They've been living in them for decades, already on the property. They will not ask them to move them. They just don't. They've told me. Yes, it's against the ordinance. It's just not one we're paying attention to. right out cold like that. Now, I have another issue. Me and Marilyn Harding are as one, man and wife. Okay? It is double jeopardy for the city to come and charge both of us and tag both of us because we choose not to have a garbage service. Therefore, I'm telling you right now, she will not be a participant in any hearing to do with the garbage, period. I don't care what anybody says. That's not an option. Bring everybody you want to, laugh at me, whatever. It's not going to happen. No. We're not going to pay for it. We're not going to have it. I already have 4 other members who want a class action lawsuit. It's not my choice. I told you before, I don't sue people. But they want to. This is racketeering. It's a protection racket. Plain and simple. Because you went ahead and stamped approval on it. Doesn't make it legal. Okay? It just doesn't. You can cry to your God and all you want. It doesn't make it legal. Now, all these problems, and they won't get them off of their property, yet you want to come after me and my wife for a $10 garbage can fee that we never had. Told you a year and a half ago I'm not going to have it. Bring the military. I'm not having a garbage service.
Would anyone care to respond? With that, we'll be adjourned.
Didn't get a chance to say.